right, have and have not, and if loving you is wrong fans, since this is my first video since Wednesday morning when I did my episode review for chest pains, I believe, and this is going to be a big video. I said, you know what, it has been a few days. Let me do a video for the first time in a while, and it's going to be a kind of on the big side. So what I'm going to do here is I want to be talking about a post that I actually made on social media on all the platforms. It did pretty well in regards to the comments on them. And it has to do with, you know, the beatings that both Eddie and Justin received on their respective shows. Eddie on If Loving You Is Wrong, and Justin on The Haves and the Have-Nots. And I feel like both of these characters are, let me put it this way. I would say that Eddie probably has a lot more fans than Justin does on The Haves and the Have-Nots. I don't really have numbers to support that, but I can only go off of what I see from the fandom from my various social media platforms. Obviously, this channel is pretty dang big, so I do get a lot of comments. Then I look on my Instagram posts, Twitter, Facebook, and yeah, a lot of people. Eddie is kind of like the Veronica of If Loving You Is Wrong in a sense, in the fact that he is a character that receives a lot of hate, but you still love him anyway, even when he's an ass. So Justin, on the other hand, I feel like is a bit more of an annoyance to fans, but it's satisfying to see him get a beating as well. The thing about it, I feel like this, let me just kind of break down what this video is going to encompass. It's probably going to go over the questions of, you know, which beating was more satisfying, who deserved it more, talking about the aftermath of said beatings and things like that. So it's not just going to be as simple as, hey, which one did you like the best? And that's it. No. You know how I do on this channel. I want to break things down. And then towards the end of the video, I have a few announcements. So we're just going to talk about the fights to start things off. Now, for one, we can kind of set up the scenes here. With Justin, it was David that orchestrated the entire beating. You know, pretty much, hey, what did he call, David called Jim in order to get Benji to call him so he can arrange everything, because at this point, David was more focused on taking out Veronica. So he wasn't able to get his own hands dirty with the Justin situation, because it's like, look, man, I'm focused on Veronica right now. I don't have time to get my own hands dirty because of this punk cop that my son is messing around with, even though I told him not to. Benji, can you handle it for me? So Benji, and well, I could be wrong, but was Benji one of the three guys that attacked Justin? To my knowledge, I don't know. I just know that those three guys were pretty much, you know, arranged by David to go over to the apartment and send a message to Justin. Pretty much, you know, I did like the setup of it. Justin answers the door, sees some flowers from Jeffrey, pretty much shrugs it off like, yes, I mean, it's just because another guy sends another guy flowers, you know, it's nothing weird about it. It's like, no, I'm not judging. And he goes to get the man a tip. He steps in, two other guys come in, close the door behind him. Justin turns around, and next thing you know, he's fighting all three dudes. Now, I will admit, Justin did get a beating, but he held his own pretty decently against three guys who are much bigger than he was. I did find it funny, you know, he was trying to fight. You see that little tip fly out of his hand, so you see some dollar bills on the ground. He's doing all right. Remember, they're in an enclosed area, and these guys are all bigger than he is. And then once they get him on the ground, that's when they start, you know, sending that message. It was pretty much a curb stomping. But, you know, I've said it before, I'm not a fan of gore or, you know, too much blood and whatnot. And the haves and the have-nots have had it where you can obviously tell it's not real. I think that I've become less fidgety during these scenes, especially when we saw Rocky getting beaten with the golf club by Candace, and you can literally tell it was just like barbecue sauce on the side of his face. But with Justin, it's like he didn't look as banged up as I thought he would be, considering it was three guys who were like taking it home to him. But I do understand that it wasn't a mission to kill. It was just to send a message not to mess with the Harrington boy anymore. So then Justin, you know, pretty much got the beating that everybody wanted him to get. But to me personally, it wasn't as satisfying as I thought. To be honest, well, I feel like the beating itself wasn't the best part about that scene. I think the setup for it was, the fact that we see Justin in a way that we really haven't seen him. I could be wrong, but I don't think we've ever seen him like, pleasantly surprised and smiling, and like, his face when he got the flowers was like, oh my God, from Jeffrey? And I mean, yeah, he tried to play it off like, oh, two guys. But because remember, he's at the point where he's still not admitting that he's gay, or at the very least interested in men. So my biggest kind of, and I'm not the biggest Justin Jeffrey fan out there. I mean, if anything, I can be done with those characters altogether on the show. It's just the fact that I question the foundation of whatever, if those two did get in a relationship. It's like, well, Justin, you say you're in love with me, you want me to live with you and all this stuff, but you are still unable to admit that you are in love with another man, or gay, or at least bisexual, however you want to, put it. So what's the point of even jumping to that level when you can't even admit to who you really are as a person? And I still need to do those videos between now and when the show airs about, how to fix blank. And these are going to be videos about different characters like Wyatt, Jeffrey, Justin, Benny, pretty much the most hated characters on the show. And the 4 characters, I think that in an agreement, we can all say we want just gone from the show because they serve no real purpose, at least in not just my opinion. I've said this plenty of times, and I've received comments on various posts with the same thing. People say I could do without Justin, Jeffrey, Benny, and Wyatt. They can all be written off, killed off, for all I care. And I definitely agree. But that doesn't mean their characters are impossible to save. But that'll be its own videos for its own time. But with Justin, if you're going to have him on the show for this long, then you should at least develop his character somewhat. Like, I'm not saying I'm instantly going to like him, but I think I would like his character a bit more from what I do now if you actually show him saying, you know what, I am in love with another man. Because at this point, it just seems like a weird obsession. It's almost like, I can't think of a good analogy or something like that. It's almost like, hey, I do not eat fast food. I hate fast food. I only eat vegan. But then at the same time, I love McDonald's. I know that's probably a weird comparison, but guys, hang with me now. It's my first video in a few days, so I'm kind of rusty. So the Justin beating, I think the setup for it was great. The fact that he was if you pay attention to the scene, it's a sunny day. We're at the new apartment, opens the door. He's smiling. He gets the flowers. And one of the few times he's actually talking to someone with, politeness and manners as opposed to being an asshole. And next thing you know, boom, beating comes out of nowhere. The face he makes when he turns around and sees the 3 guys was just priceless. So I think the element of surprise to me was much more satisfying than that, beating he got. And then the aftermath of it was pretty much Justin didn't learn his lesson. He pretty much, even after finding out that David was the one that orchestrated this entire thing, he continuously just blamed Jeffrey for it and made him feel guilty about it and kept begging him to come see him. And then we got to where we are now and out of time. And I think after that beating, if anything, Justin's creepy meter, and I've said this time and time again, they just dialed up his creepiness to an entirely new level that just makes no damn sense in terms of character. Like, again, we knew he's obsessive, territorial, abusive, and things like that. But to actually see the level of creepiness, my gosh, I do not want to compare Justin to one of my favorite characters on the show, Warlock. But remember how I've always, and I stand by this, I loved Warlock during, basically from when he was first introduced up until the point where he became a villain in the series, where he became the new Quincy, where he became a monster. Like, I just love the calm, cool, collected Warlock, and then out of nowhere, you just turned this dude into a freaking monster who seemed like he was a lunatic at some points, where he would just have these fits of rage, and one minute he'll be talking to Candace calm and just like everything's okay, like, look, you betrayed me, but Candace like, no, I want to get your money and everything seemed to be going well. Next thing you know, it's like he almost like turned into a Jekyll and Hyde. Like, he would start fidgeting and stuff like that. It's like, you lied to me, you betrayed me, and then he would just force himself on her, and it's like, what? That's kind of how I feel with Justin with the creepy meter, where we knew where his personality was to an extent, but then he just took it to an entirely new level and is like, oh, so do you smell anything familiar? Yeah, I think if we should be together, we should smell alike. And just, and then the photos, it's, gosh. Okay, now let's move over to If Loving You Is Wrong and talk about the beating that Eddie got from Steven. All right, now we're shifting gears here. Basically, the Eddie Steven setup is kind of interesting because when you think about it, there were a couple of fights that took place before the actual beating that Eddie got from Steven, because if memory serves, you know, they were at the pub, right? I think that's what they call it, the pub. And that's where Eddie showed up to get Esperanza out of there, because I believe, you know, another guy was talking with her. And I don't know if this guy was named, but I just know that at the end of the episode, it's like, is that your beer? Boom, bust him upside the head with the bottle. Then they get into a brawl. Then in the very next episode, Esperanza jumps in trying to break up the fight. Then, you know, the cops actually, well, let me just say the other people in the pub, because they're pretty much all cops if memory serves, they pretty much break the fight up. And, you know, no, it's all cool. Shots for everybody. And that was the end of that. And I believe Duncan and his crew were outside of Esperanza's house waiting for Steven to come out at the very end of that episode. Yeah, that's kind of interesting because the ending of the episode, what was it called? Let It Burn. The red dress. Yeah, I believe the red dress, the ending was the Eddie versus bartender, the pub guy. Then at the beginning of Randall's, no, it wasn't Randall's stage. Yeah, was it? Yeah, Randall's stage. That's when the fight's broken up. Then at the very end of Randall's stage, that's when Steven is attacked by the 4 guys outside of Esperanza's house. Then at the beginning of Chest Pains, Steven kicked ass. Like, put on those karate moves, and that was it. It was almost like, you know, Tommy from the Power Rangers versus, you know, 4 putties. He just kicks their asses. And then that leads to Esperanza being upset by his anger. But if you looked at my episode review for Chest Pains, I think the first 5 to 10 minutes or something, I just went off about Esperanza being annoying. And I might actually need to do a video on that, like, you know, will Steven become the same monster that Eddie is or something like that, which is completely ridiculous, but that'll be its own video. And I think from there, you know, that's when Steven goes down to the pub, you know, a few seconds, you know, after Duncan and his crew arrive. Well, the 2 remaining members, because that one that I believe Steven, he smashed his head to the car door window, and then like the side mirror, and then put his head through the car window. Oh, sorry, guys, I'm sorry. I just keep laughing looking at that scene in my head where he literally took the dude's head and smashed it through the driver's side window. That was impressive. But yeah, he was in the hospital for stitches, and then the one guy's like, you know, he almost broke my leg. And then when Steven comes in and overhears, he pretty much knows Eddie was the one that's in the goons, and he playfully, you know, kicked that one guy's leg that he almost broke, and he limped away. And, you know, the bartender is like, hey, we just had a brawl in here. We're not going to have another one. He's like, no, this isn't going to be a brawl. This is going to be an ass beating. And shoot, Steven just took it home.
Your house, just bring it down a notch, sit down, have a beer with me.
All right, so that was it. It was literally a beating until Lucian eventually showed up. Which, remember, he told Natalie he wasn't against waiting a few minutes to let the ass kicking happen because, hey, Eddie needed the lesson. And when he got there, Steven, you know, just left. And that was pretty much it. And after that, you know, the bartender's like, who's going to pay for it? It's like, no, get your boy right here. I know he got it. Then he leaves as well. And after that, you know, Eddie classically is like, does anybody got that blow? For real, I need it right now. And then from there, he's at the hospital, pretty much, you know, threatens the doctor if he doesn't give him any stronger medication, that, you know, he'll say that he gave him a prostate exam, even though he didn't. And then from there, he just begins to harass Kelly until, you know, Rick tells him off, so he then leaves. And then Esperanza calls him for lunch the next day in order to just talk, and he's still being an ass. And that's pretty much it. But basically, kind of like Justin, I think the setup, well, it's not really a fight. I feel like maybe Eddie was more chill when it came to Steven approaching him due to the fact that, one, he had just gotten into one reckless fight. Two, he thought Duncan and his crew were going to handle it. And to just be honest, he was a bit, like pissed that 4 guys couldn't take down that one girl, as he calls them. It's almost like, no, actually, yeah. That's why I do say Eddie's like Veronica. He does refer to like homosexual people as, girls and whatnot, even when he's talking to a man. But, Steven is gay, but he pretty much, just talks down to Steven, even though Steven is a little bit taller than him, I believe. But in any case, that's when Steven shows up right after Duncan and the guys get there. So then he tries to play it off like, dude, come on, just sit down with me, have a beer. I didn't see no guys after you. Then Steven pretty much, commanded the entire pub, like, look. This is going to be an ass kicking, ass beating. If anybody steps in, I will kill you. I think the delivery of that line could have been a bit more threatening, but given the fact that he just kicked 4 guys' ass at once, I'll let him have it. And then he proceeds to just wail on Eddie. And I think the Justin fight was a bit more well choreographed, just because Justin did put up somewhat of a fight. I think he knocked down one of the guys for a brief moment until, he got, obviously outnumbered and overpowered. But it's hard to tell. I mean, when you really think about it, what fight was better, Justin versus 3 guys or Steven versus Duncan and the other 3 guys? Because it really wasn't a fight between Eddie and Steven, because Steven literally beat literally, if Lucian didn't come in when he did, he probably would have got his face smashed in. And it's kind of ironic because it takes me way back to a previous season where Julius set up a trap for Eddie, where, to go out on a date with his cousin, then go back to Eddie's house because, Eddie being Eddie. Next thing you know, he has a gun pointed right at his chest and he's like, look, I get it. Just don't shoot me in the don't shoot me in the face. I came into this world pretty. Let me go out the same. And it's just like, it's amazing that, ironically enough, he didn't get shot in the face, but his face got beat to a pulp. And that's pretty damn ironic when you think about it. So I think that Steven beating down Eddie kind of reminded me of when Jeffrey got beaten by Quincy. Once again, it was kind of like, Veronica said, the put a hurt on him but not beat him too bad, and it's like, yeah, I don't want to mess up that pretty face. So I just think that's kind of ironic. I don't know if Tyler Perry did that on purpose to kind of harken back to an earlier season of the Haves and the Have-Nots, but once again, it's hard for me to watch If Loving You Is Wrong without making the comparison. So I feel like when it comes to the Steven versus Eddie beating, not fight, it's interesting when you look at the character emotions at that moment. Steven is heated because he knew that Eddie was up to his old bullshit. Not to mention he had fought off 4 guys at once. And then, his emotions were flared up. And I'm not even going to get into the Esperanza thing. It's just that, yeah, he was understandably upset at what just happened. So he goes off to find Eddie. So there's no cooling him down in that moment. Eddie is trying to play it cool due to getting into an earlier brawl. He sent 4 guys after Steven, so he was pretty relaxed in the sense that, man, I know they're going to kick that dude's ass. This is a wrap. But then he's a little bit pissed when they come back defeated. Then Steven comes in, overhears it, and then Eddie tries to play it cool like nothing happened. So obviously Steven was, usually they say, what is it? A candle burns out quickest when it a candle burns out the brightest and more the flame on a candle gets, I think in Rage it's kind of like, a candle burns more intensely right when it's about to go out. And I think that's why Steven pretty much won, because Eddie's candle at that moment was burnt out, because once again, in an earlier fight, he was pretty self-assured that Duncan and his crew would take out Steven, and he was just relaxing at the pub until they got the news. So then he's a little pissed about Duncan, then Steven comes in, his flame burning bright, and literally next thing you know, that flame ended up burning all over his face. I hope that didn't sound weird. So yeah, Steven won. It's kind of ironic because Lucian came in right at the right time because, as the doctor said, Eddie's lucky he doesn't have internal bleeding. But to be completely honest, did Steven hit him anywhere else but the face? I think he just went for the face. I don't know. It's Tyler Perry logic. Who knows? So in any case, he pretty much got humiliated at the pub. But then again, nobody helped. I mean, even though Steven said if anybody jumps in, he would kill them, I think that threat was more to the Duncan and his other two guys. And to be honest, I don't think anybody would have been in a rush to help Eddie anyway. I mean, you could make the argument, well, Jeremy, what about everybody that broke up the earlier fight? Well, Esperanza jumped in and, keep the peace. I don't know. But I mean, once again, nobody really threatened to say, yo, I'm about to crack this guy's head up. Well, I'm about to crack this beer bottle upside this dude's head. Nobody better jump in. That didn't happen. So, yeah. Plus, like Lucian said, he knew Steven could handle himself. So, everybody in the office probably knew that as well. But Eddie being Eddie doesn't really, take anybody else seriously. So, that could be a reason. Because to him, he's just another punk that Esperanza's messing around with. So, that actually does make sense. But I think that when it comes down to it, what fight did it's hard for me to tell because you know how I do on this channel. I like to analyze these things and break things down. Like if you made it this far in the video, first of all, thank you so much and congratulations. But it's just the fact that it's easy to say, yo, that fight was awesome. But I like to look into the choreography of the fights and the setup for the fight, where everybody's mindset is. Like I said, the Justin thing, we actually got to see a lighter side of his personality, which we rarely got to see. And then next thing you know, he went from being relaxed to, oh shit, 3 dudes are standing up in my house. I got to get up. I got to, turn my game on. Then he ended up, getting broken. Eddie, on the other hand, is like, again, he had just cooled down from one brawl, pretty much sent a group of guys to take out Steven for him. So he it wasn't a necessity for him to be, at the top of his game. Not to mention he was looking for a hit, so he was probably a bit agitated off of that too. But then Steven comes in and that's it. And then as Lucian said, here lies Eddie, the man who wouldn't let it go. And even then, Eddie's, just based off Eddie's response, it seemed to me like he isn't going to let it go anytime soon. And that leads to the lunch with Esperanza tomorrow, as Natalie suggested, to hopefully stop any further violence. But yeah, even Lucian said, I want to have a talk with you tomorrow in order to sort this out because, this could definitely escalate to a new level. Once again, there's no telling what would have happened if Steven wasn't physically prepared as he was to handle those 4 guys, let alone, isn't that ironic, once if Steven wasn't able to handle himself, there's no telling how far those guys would have took it. I believe, and I don't think Eddie was like kill him, but pretty much, mess him up good. And then it's like, when Steven was taking on Eddie, there's no telling how far he would have went if Lucian didn't step in. So yeah, it's pretty intense how things could just continue to escalate. So I think that who deserved it more? I would probably say Eddie deserved it more because remember, he literally sent a group of guys after Steven. You could make the argument that Justin deserved it more than Eddie, but when you really think about it, a lot of the situations that Jeffrey had gotten into in regards to receiving Justin's wrath, he kind of brought it on himself, And yeah, Justin has done a lot of terrible things that warrant an ass beating, if not even more than that. But I think that Eddie definitely deserved it more. And I mean, it's just like that one time where Justin is kicking Jeffrey's ass in the hospital hallway. And it's kind of like, where did that come from? Whereas with Eddie, Eddie's going to be Eddie. It's almost like, New Edition. Bobby's going to be Bobby. So it's kind of really hard to gauge Justin. I think there's a lack of inconsistency with the character, whereas Eddie is Eddie. I think that's the best way to put it. So in terms of who deserved it more, I would think Eddie deserved it more than Justin. And then when you look at it from which one was better, I think that Justin was set up. I think the Justin beating was set up better just because it was a fight. With Steven and Eddie, it was just a one-sided beatdown. So I think Justin wins that point. And then when we look at the aftermath, I think it's a tie just because at the end of the day, they're both still assholes. So if anything, the beating really didn't mean anything. I mean, for Justin, he tried to weaponize that in order to make Jeffrey feel guilty. But for Eddie, for him, it's just like a minor setback, I guess is the best way to put it. So I think, I hate to be that guy, but I think it's almost like a tie when you look at it from those different categories. If anything, it just made David look like a badass because, you know, that means, hey, he doesn't play when it comes to his family, or his son anyway. And, you know, he's just like Jim, where he can call a couple people if necessary to take care of some dirty work. Remember, those two really aren't on good terms with the Malones now as it is. Well, mainly specifically Jim, but David is kind of lumped into his corner as well. So that doesn't mean the Malones are the only resources they have. Whereas with Steven, if you ask me, and I might have to do a separate video on this because I raised the question on Instagram, does this mean that Steven is... Does this mean he's possibly the strongest? And you all know me. I love anime and like DC and Marvel. So power scaling for me is a thing where I look at characters and try to, you know, gauge who's the strongest. Does this feat mean that Steven is possibly the best fighter or strongest character in the Tyler Perry quote unquote series universe when you look at House of Pain, Have It, Have Nots, If Loving You Is Wrong, and things like that? I mean, people are like, no, Benny could beat him. Like, no, Benny couldn't even beat David one-on-one because even Mitch called him out on it. It's like, you know, man, you ain't beat him. I mean, the old dude was holding his own. And yeah, Benny did beat those two Malones in a parking lot of a hotel where he even slammed one of the guys' head through a car window, which I think is where Tyler Perry borrowed the scene where Steven did the same to one of the guys. But, I mean, yeah, he was holding his own. But number one, they were two older guys. And at the same time, Benny was winning up until the point where the guns came out. And I think that Mitch would be a good opponent. But once again, you look at Benny and Mitch together against Warlock and his crew, and they weren't able to beat him because, number one, they were outnumbered, close quarters. And even after the guns were pulled out, even before that, Benny and Mitch were pushed back. So I think that Steven at this point, Sal Malone is a thick dude, so he might be hard to beat. But I don't know. At this point, Steven's number one. I guess it's the best. It's kind of like, you know, in the MCU, it's like, yo, Captain Marvel showed up. Now she's the strongest. It's like, wait, what? So Steven, out of nowhere, by default, at this point, is the strongest. But like I said, I will probably have to do a video on that. So if you want me to do a video, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. But overall, again, I think it's almost like a tie, where you have to look at the different categories in terms of which fight or beating was better, who deserved it more, the setup of said beatings, as well as the aftermath. Did this change the characters at all? No. I think, if anything, you know, for whatever reason, Justin's creepy meter just went up, and Eddie is just still an ass. That's pretty much it, because it's like Rick James said on Saturday Night Live.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Yeah, literally, it's funny because right after, even before the fight, he wanted some blow. I think he said that after his first fight in the bar, then after the beating, right after that. So Eddie is still Eddie. All right, folks. Well, this is the part of the video where this is pretty much the ending of the topic of the video title. I'm getting into the announcement portion. So if you want to click away from the video, be sure to hit that like button, comment your thoughts below, as well as subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. Once we hit 75,000 subscribers, I will be doing a big giveaway. I'm talking gift cards, DVDs, and what have you. So be on the lookout for that. But I think that theoretically, based off the numbers, we should reach 75,000 by the 28th, pretty much the last week of April, aka the first week of May. But it'll be great if we can hit that before the end of April. So once again, pushing for 75,000. So keep on subscribing. And yeah, so first off, you're probably wondering, Jeremy, why haven't you uploaded in several days? I mean, I pretty much went off the grid. I made this announcement like early last week that my nephew's field trip to Natural Bridge, which I had never been to, I thought I hadn't been, but my mom was like, no, you went on a field trip to another place, which I forgot where it was, but yeah, I had never been before. So I went home Wednesday morning, yeah, because it was my sleeping pattern still out of whack. I left the apartment at 4:30 or 5 o'clock, got there before 6, and I watched If Loving You Was Wrong because I slept through the episode the night before, and I did my episode review. So my last video that I posted before this one was my episode review. And like I said, 8 out of 10, pretty solid episode. It was odd that there was no Randall, Marcy, Brad, but overall, pretty good episode. And the video did pretty well. I think at this time it's almost at 7,000 hits, so that's great. But it felt good to just not be on the microphone. To be honest, a friend of mine was like, hey, you should just leave your microphone at your apartment. And I was going to do that, but I felt like as soon as I leave, I will probably get like 50 messages with a bunch of random news updates on these shows as well as Tyler Perry Studios. So I had the microphone just in case. But, well, then again, I am glad I brought the mic because if I didn't, I couldn't have done the episode review. But I went on the trip the next day, had a great time, got a ton of photos and whatnot. And yeah, it was a long day and a lot of walking. We did not go to the zoo, unfortunately, like I thought we would, but we went to Natural Bridge and saw Indian exhibit there. Then we also went to the caverns, which was awesome. So yeah, I might actually do a video on my personal channel, Jeremy Carden, and then share it here. That was a pretty cool experience. And then from the, at this point, it was a trip for second graders, and just seeing how they acted and the parents and the teachers being exhausted, I'm kind of like, this is exactly why I don't have kids. I can't do it. So then moving forward, Thursday was a pretty chill day. Friday, because it was foggy and rainy, hit up the ice cream spot in my hometown, Tasty Freeze. I have not been in like 7 months. So that was pretty cool. And I know, I come from a very small town. So this is en route to Chase City. It's like 10 minutes away from, I think it's on 501. But in any case, it's kind of like, one of those places where it's not like the best, but you know what? It's hometown stuff. So I got an ice cream cone there. And then I headed back on Saturday morning. And after the adventure that was Natural Bridge, I'm like, you know what? I've always said, let me hit up Patrick Henry's Red Hill in Brookneal, Virginia, because I have to pass through there, making the trip from Lynchburg, where I live now, to Clover, Virginia, which is where I'm from, which again is only like a 55 to 60 minute trip. It's no big deal. And I said, you know what? It rained Friday, so I was going to go Friday, but Saturday it was kind of cloudy and the sun was supposed to come out. And I'm like, you know what? Let me go ahead and make this trip, because I want to get out. I want to do more stuff. I don't want to just be cooped up in my room all the time. I had a ball. It was $8 for the tour. The woman working there, she loved me because I spent like $42. Look, that's the thing. Like, again, I'm single, no kids. I'm not married. So I have this extra money. So I bought souvenirs. I might actually put up a picture or two in that video I do, or even on Instagram. I'm talking like pins, buttons, replicas, bookmarks, maps, and stuff like that. I'm a history nerd too. I love that kind of stuff. And I grew up watching the cartoon Liberty's Kids. I still watch it. It is awesome. I don't know why they don't revive that show and continue past when George Washington became president, because I remember being a kid watching like PBS and whatnot, and the core subjects in school, science, history, math, and English. I had so many shows to help me with that. Cyber Chase with math, Liberty's Kids with history, math, oh crap, history, math, English, science. Science was Bill Nye, and then English was like you had Reading Rainbow, Between the Lions, and all that stuff. So I was always like a couple of chapters ahead of my class in terms of the textbook, because I would watch those shows like Liberty's Kids and Cyber Chase. So that was pretty cool. It was great to see all those different locations, historical things. It's just great. Literally, even as an adult, it's kind of cool to get out there and see stuff. And plus, I live in Virginia and there's so much history here, but I've never went to explore. So with the weather being nicer, I do plan on going out a lot more. And I covered a lot of turf. I walked over 2 miles at that place because there was a slavery cemetery right across the street from the actual, Patrick Henry, the house, the memorial site, and all that stuff. And the woman didn't tell me how far it was, though. I was kind of mad because this is me by myself walking in the woods, and truck in the parking lot. Sorry about that. It's about like 3 minutes into the walk, and it's like cemetery, quarter of a mile. Like, wait, what? And I'm talking like into the woods, and I literally into the woods. And I'm like, I've never watched Get Out or Us because I don't do horror films, but I do know enough about the films. Like, what is that black guy sees another black guy just running at him, and it's kind of like, wait, what? I was afraid of that. It was like maybe 11:30 a.m. and it was really cloudy. It wasn't any sun yet, so I was kind of like, I am in the trail in the woods by myself. You know what? I paid $8. I'm going to get my worth. So I went in there, came out. It was pretty fun. So I am actually proud of myself for actually getting out and doing something aside from just recording videos, chilling in bed, reading comic books, and watching TV. It was just fun to explore. And once again, the weather's getting nicer. I'm ready to get out more. Like, I cut down on certain foods, but physical activity is definitely a part of the game. Like, I'm proud of myself because I was able to still do physical things like walking long distances and whatnot. And I haven't really done that since college. So to actually get into more of a routine to increase my endurance, that's the plan. So that was actually pretty eye-opening for me, especially on that field trip where there was like a couple of sections where it's like 50 stairs, then 137, and people are taking breaks and all, but I was able to power on through. And I'm like, you know what? Boom, I need to keep this up. So I think what I really learned from this is the fact that even with the channel not being bombarded with videos like 5 times per day, I was actually seeing an increase in numbers and people watching older videos. I think that actually does come from me doing a playlist thing, and I do hope to make more soon. So that was actually a good experience for me. And out of that, just, I don't want to jinx it, but from the last week of March where like the article in the newspaper came out and things like that, and the first week of April being pretty good, earlier this year, all the girl drama and crap like that really had me down, but I finally think I've moved past that. And I really hope, to me, April was the 2019. It was my start. I really wanted to start fresh. What, that crush I had that didn't work out, that was the last crush I had, like the last girl I had interest in. So now I'm just focusing on what I do, and I hope to hit big numbers on the channel soon. Like even today, I'm only doing this video really because 1, it has been a while since I've done a video. 2, I still have not gone through all the messages people have sent me. Like I really went off the grid aside from my Instagram post, just to keep up activity there. I haven't done anything on social media, so I have a ton of messages to go through. I know there's like 2 new have and have not synopsis. If Loving You Is Wrong has released a few clips, so I haven't read all, but I've read some messages. Yes, I do plan on doing videos on all those things, but this is Sunday. I want to take things slow. I have eBay things I need to mail off tomorrow because thank the Lord, I'm making some of the money back that I spent over the past few days. So you can expect new content. I think for the sake of it, it is Sunday and I want this video to do well. I'll probably make this the only video I post on Sunday, but then come Monday and Tuesday, get ready for a ton of videos at once. So from there, let's see. Talked about what I did over the past few days. Talked about why this video is important. Also, one comment here. I'm just going to put the comment here because I don't want to mess up the name. I actually posted this on Instagram, Facebook group, Facebook page, and the community tab, and this comment comes from my Who Was Derek David video, and that was like my first huge video after the Out of Time finale for Have and Have Nots. And this comment really just jumped out at me. I understand you have a fan as everyone else. I think it means I understand you are a fan as everyone else, but Tyler should hire you. You are so good the way you explain what happened and what's going to happen. Theories. Actually, you can give Tyler some advice at the same time. The show is so good and interesting to watch, precisely the way you give details about it. Thank you so much for making me understand. That comment was awesome, not just for the praise of, Tyler Perry should hire you, but the fact that it really reached out to me because that was the purpose of the channel, creating a community where I can discuss the haves and the have-nots, come up with theories and discuss them with other fans, and also helping people to understand, because it's so good to see people going back through my old videos and even my newer videos and getting inspired to go back to the first season via Hulu or whatever platform you use, because they came into the show a couple seasons late and they need to play catch up. And that's what this channel is about: communication and understanding the series. Like, I'm not perfect, not all my theories are correct, and the show isn't perfect, but guess what? I'm not a writer. I'm not the one with a studio. I'm just sitting in an apartment. I love this show to death, but even when there are things I don't like, I try to offer, here's how I think it should have gone to make it better for a lot more characters. So I'm not just ranting about the show. I'm actually watching, absorbing it, coming up with ideas, and breaking it down, while also saying, you know what, just like the fights, it's like, yeah, Justin was this, but I think it could have been better if it was done this way. Same thing with Eddie. So yeah, I really do appreciate that comment. It meant a lot. And I guess the final thing is something that happened last week. And I think I told like 3 people that I talk with a lot, on Instagram via DMs about the haves and the have-nots and stuff. But you know what? I might as well tell you. It is, I don't want to say I'm disappointed because I haven't heard anything back yet, due to the fact, like, it's only been a week and I don't want to jinx it. But what I did was, I think a couple months ago, I told you I mailed like a letter to Tyler Perry Studios. In that letter, it was pretty much a request for a couple of things. Yeah, basically the letter was, thanking Tyler Perry and Tyler Perry Studios for being such an inspiration and creating the haves and the have-nots, due to the fact that, hey, I'm able to do stuff now that I never thought I would be able to do, especially for a living. And then I went into detail about why I love the show, what my channel is, and things like that. And let me just stress, this was not looking for a job opportunity, because that's not really why I did this channel to begin with. My long-term goal, of course, 100,000. Then there were like a few things I requested. And let me stress that, I wasn't looking for handouts. I literally said, like, look, if I had to come out of my own pocket and pay for these things to happen, by all means, let me know what the price is. I'll see if I can get the money together. There were like maybe 4 different photos, like, 2 have and have nots, and 2 if loving you is wrong, like promotional photos and whatnot. It's like, hey, it would be really cool if could I get like a 24 by 36 poster size, because I would love to have those hanging up on the wall, that when I do live streams and other videos, I can have backdrops there. And I think, like, hey, the Medea farewell tour is going on. I don't know if I can make the April showing in Roanoke. Is there any way I get like a program book, because people sent me photos, they look awesome. It would be great to have one. And what else was it? Let's see, the posters, the Medea thing. Is there any way to get like a shout out, or at least one of my videos shared on a Tyler Perry platform? Because I feel like just one video might bring attention to the channel enough to push me to 100K. Because to me, somebody actually told me this, and this actually blew my mind. Your channel's kind of like OWN, in the sense that it's great. There's a lot of great content on it, like the haves and the have-nots, for example, but not everyone knows about it, because OWN is only available to certain cable packages. Not to mention, when I say cable packages, I mean you have to order an extra fee. You have to, it's an extra charge for it, and not every cable company has OWN. Just like, YouTube has so many freaking channels, just like cable packages does. So there have been a ton of people who just say, oh my God, I just found your channel, it's amazing. So I wish that somebody from the show or whatever, or Tyler Perry Studios, just give a brother a shout out. Like, again, I'm not asking for a handout. Like, I'll tell me what I need to pay or whatever, and if it's reasonable, I will pay to make it happen, because Tyler Perry has shared fan videos before, whether it be for Acrimony or Medea or whatever. But it's like, this channel is solely dedicated to breaking down and talking about the haves and the have-nots, as well as various other shows and whatnot. So to give a brother a shout out will be amazing. And I forgot what else I asked for. And again, it wasn't like unreasonable stuff. It was just like, yo, a program that everybody that attends gets, posters if possible, and a shout out. And I forgot what else I'd asked for. It was like a 3-page letter. And then I in the envelopes I included the photos I wanted, my business card. And I think that here's what I did, because since I sent that first letter and never got a reply, I actually went ahead and made 6 copies. So there were 6 envelopes and everything. And then the woman at the post office was like, that's a good idea, but how about to ensure you get tracking, because it would be flat rate shipping and I wouldn't get tracking for it. She gave me a priority envelope and was nice enough to like, look, I think it will save you a lot of money, because I know you spent like, yeah, I spent like $30 in ink trying to print these out, because these were like high quality photos and that was a lot of ink, so I was pissed off, but I got it done. And I put them all in the same envelope. I got the tracking and it arrived in Georgia at the location on April Fool's, so that's kind of ironic. So hopefully when they open it, they weren't thinking it was a prank. But it has been a week and I haven't heard, well, no. Tomorrow marks a week. I haven't heard anything back yet. You know, kind of gave my phone number and email. Basically, email is probably the best way to contact me, or social media, because phone, you know, can be wonky. Not to mention the fact I get like 20 spam calls a day for like, you need to update the warranty on your car or health insurance or whatever the case may be. So, yeah, hopefully I get a response. Then again, I have not checked my voicemail in the past 4 days, so who knows? Maybe I got a call. So, you know, if you could just pray, that would be great. I'd appreciate it. Like I said, I wasn't looking for a handout. I was just saying, hey, is there any way to get this stuff? Or I asked for a Tyler Perry t-shirt, because like the cast members and whatnot will be wearing like Tyler Perry studio shirts and whatnot, or a t-shirt that had the name of the shows on there. Like, I would love to, like, you know, wear that stuff in actual videos, because people watch the channel. So hopefully something comes from it. And I also thank them for like the copyright stuff. Like, hey, thanks for getting rid of the strikes, but is there a way to officially, you know, put my channel on a do not mark list, because I don't post full episodes? So fingers crossed that I hear something before the end of the week. Hopefully by this upcoming week, because I'd really appreciate some swag, if you will, from, you know, Tyler Perry Studios, since they really don't have much. Because, yeah, I did check out the website, but all they got is like maybe a couple t-shirts and a water bottle and keychain. I'm like, nah, son, give me that have and have not stuff. So, yeah, with that being said, I will keep you updated. If I hear anything back, trust and believe you will know. But I think that does it for the announcements. I was going to do a separate video, but I'm like, nah, nobody will watch it. So I'll just put it at the end of this one. So once again, folks, thank you all so much for making it to this part of the video, if you managed to make it this far. And I really do hope that you will subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and share this video around, because I do appreciate it. Aside from that, I believe that's it. It is almost noon right now. It's like 11:45 a.m. I'm going to take a quick break and come back and edit, get this video posted, then gear up to get all this stuff. I think I got like 25 items to sell. Well, excuse me, ship, because I actually sold that stuff on eBay, which is great. Got to keep that hustle going. So I will probably do a video later this week, recapping my adventures through Natural Bridge and the Patrick Henry, you know, museum location. And aside from that, you know, yeah, that's it. Just share the videos around and tell people about the channel. I'd really appreciate it. Tweet at Tyler Perry, yo, Jeremy sent you 6 letters. Like, literally, it was like you open up the bubble wrap, you know, priority envelope USPS sends, and then I think they probably dumped it out and saw 6 manila folders with with all the letters. So literally 6 times 3 is 18. Then you got 4 times 6, which is 24 photos. So I will not be ignored. I don't know. I hope not. That would be great. But no, that would not be great. So yeah, let me quit babbling, take a break, come back and edit. And I hope everyone has a wonderful week. And yes, be aware, this is the only video I'm posting today, but I will be doing more videos over the next 48 hours. So thanks so much for tuning in, and I will talk to you all soon. Congratulations on making it to the end of this video. If you like what you just saw, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, or if you have anything you would like to add to the video, make sure to leave your thoughts in the comment section below. If you want to keep up with me on social media, go to the description box. All of my links for social media are right there. Also, if you feel like you would like to donate to the channel, make sure to click on the link to PayPal. Any amount helps. $1, $5, $20. As a full-time YouTuber, any support from my fans really does mean a lot to me. Finally, make sure to hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification icon. That way you're kept up to date on any new content I post to the channel. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you in the next video.